Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, we're going to go right back to the fenders, right where we left off. Now we got the chassis up to the house, got the engine transmission out, stripped it down, and I've got a lot of thinking to do. But while I'm doing that thinking, I want to get back on these fenders and finish up all the body work on them. Like we talked about before, I want to get that body filler on there, let it sit 4 or 5 days, a week, week and a half, whatever. So it can shrink and do everything it's going to do before I spray more epoxy on it. So that epoxy goes over a shrunken piece of body filler, not sprayed together and then shrink down. And so the sand scratches and everything don't fill properly. So that's kind of what the game plan is for today. So let's jump in, take a look at what we got done and what we need to do next. And then we'll get these fenders finished off and ready for more epoxy. All right, the fenders are pretty much exactly where you guys saw them last. We do have still a little bit of work to do on the exterior. So you can see right here, we didn't do any blocking, the door's in the way. And these fenders kind of roll out, you know, they kind of come off this seam right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're curved right here. And that's how they were from the factory. So it's not like the door just comes straight and then it starts curving out towards the fender well. They actually start curving right at that body line right there. The doors, I think, have a little bit of a shape to them too that come out to them. So what I want to do is get the doors out of the way and block this edge out on both fenders, make it look really nice and uniform, so it's got a nice curve. Now remember, we reshaped those fenders so we don't have to stretch them on there and jam a bunch of shims and everything. They pretty much just set right on there just like they're supposed to. So I've got a couple of shims in the bottom, and I think I'll just count how many so we get the door out of the way, get the fenders back on, shim them just like they belong, and then we're going to block those out. That's not going to be the final shape, but it gets us kind of like we did here, some preliminary work. Then once we get the body back on the chassis, we can start blocking the door back and forth and figure out which one needs some extra work. But that's kind of how I'm doing it. Some guys will do it all in bare steel and pick all that out, put ink and do a bunch of stuff. I don't want to be working on this thing till I'm 90 years old, so this is the way I'm going to do it, and I think it's going to come out just fine. So we also need to work on the inside right here. You guys remember we welded in those triangles, those 3 triangles, welded that seam all the way down, did some other work. So what I want to do is go ahead and get that done as well. So I want to get these fenders done. So they're just basically sitting around waiting for some epoxy. So let me go ahead and get the doors off here. Well, I have to get the fenders off to get the doors off, then I put the fenders back on. So that'll take me a couple of minutes. But before we get to that, I want you guys to look out there. I got it all cleaned up, chassis out of the way. Swept it, pressure washed it. It's kind of nice to have that area open for once. So give me a couple minutes, get these fenders off and on, and then we'll get to work. All right, we got the fenders and doors off, and I was just thinking we need to change this game plan up a little bit. While I've got the fenders off, why don't I just go ahead and do this part first and then bolt them back up and then do that edge over there. So let's take a look at what we're working with here. So if you guys haven't seen, there was triangles right here, kind of a strengthening rib they kind of put in here. So we cut some triangles, welded them in, and got those filled in. So you guys can see them right there in the light, right there. So those need to be smoothed out. We've got, you guys can see spot welds right here we want to smooth out. Then over here we welded this seam right here between this piece and that piece. We TIG welded that. That needs some filling, and I want to kind of just I want to fill this so it's not as noticeable, but I want it just to taper down into that corner. I don't want to build that up flat. I could have cut a piece of sheet metal and welded that all along here and then welded down in the corner, but what I want to do is just make this less noticeable and just kind of taper that down and just smooth it out basically. And that's what we're going to be doing on the whole thing. Smoothing it out, making it look nicer. So we have spot welds back here. I think we might have a little high spot. I'm going to try to hammer down a little bit, but I basically want this to look really nice. You can see where we welded that seam right here, and there's some pits in there, and it's not, you know, the best surface, so I want to get that shaped up really nice. So hopefully we did a nice grind job on that so we can just round that over really nice and make it look nice and clean. So let me scuff this up and get everything kind of scuffed, and then we'll get some body filler mixed up and start applying it. Okay, we'll be using a couple of different spreaders on this one, but we'll start on these big ones here. Then I cut down an old plastic one I've got laying around to do all these kind of spot welds right here, so they don't get too big. You can see how that tape acts like a gauge, so it'll be overfilled right there, and we can just sand that smooth. Pretty cold in the shop. It's 44 degrees. I know to some of you guys 44 degrees is warm, but to me 44 degrees is cold. You know, if it's -5 there or something, you'd love to have a 45-degree day. But I was born and raised in California, and 45 degrees is pretty darn cold for me. Let's get these numbers. All right, this stuff's starting to set up on me, so I'm going to stop and we'll just peel this tape off, we'll clean up, and then we'll try another batch. All right, guys, I got another batch going right away. Didn't film it. This was still open. It wasn't set. It was just starting to get a little stiff. So I mixed another batch and filled that edge. Not easy, kind of messy, but we're going to end up having to sand that out. So I'm going to set it out in the sun for a little bit, let it cook, and set off all the way, and then we'll get to sanding. All right, it's all set up nice and tight. We're going to use some 60 grit, and let's just knock this top off. Ouch, that's sharp. And then just kind of rough this out, see if we need another coat. All right, guys, I did cut myself on that body filler somewhere. I keep dropping blood on this thing. All right, obviously we're low. I want to control this bead, how it rolls over. So we're going to refill all this. We're going to fill down in here. I hadn't figured that it was that lumpy, but and we got some other stuff. So let me scuff all these areas. Blow this thing off, figure out what we need to fill, and then scuff all these areas and mix up another batch. Okay, got some more tape on here. I took a scuff pad and got down all the nooks and crannies, sanded everything with some 80 grit. So we're ready to recoat. Just gonna expand some of these where the triangles were. And then we're gonna refill that edge all the way. All right, I'm going to set it back out in the sun, let the heat from the sun set it off a little faster, and we'll get it sanded again. All right, well, I went too far again. So I sanded it and then off camera, and then I put a little bit more on, a little bit more. And so I ended up floating this whole area right here. I floated this entire length, filling in those spot welds. It was really ripply along through here, so I floated the whole thing and blocked it out. So it should look really good. We got the front done right here. So that's looking good. I want to get the headlight bezel on there, see how that looks through there, make sure that's right. But we're looking pretty good. The other fender is nice and flat right through here. So I don't know if they're both right from the factory, or one got hit and they bought an aftermarket one, or one from the factory that was built later. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. The last thing to do is to roll this edge over. It's super sharp right now. So let me put the camera down, we'll get a block and see if we can't block that over with a pretty good size radius on there. All right, I have some 100 grit on this Dura block, the small one here. So I just want to go at a 45 first and sand evenly across the whole length. And kind of break that over, and then we'll round just like facets around the corner. Now we really won't know how this looks until we get some primer on here. It's really hard to tell, you know, how it's looking. So we're just going to have to kind of go by feel. But when I welded that, I'm just laying it over a little bit more. When I welded that, I try to grind it to a pretty good radius across there, so it has a nice roll to it. All right, I'm going to keep sanding on this until I get in matching. I'm doing both fenders at the same time, so I've already done that one. So I'm going to kind of keep sanding, try to make these things match the best I can. All right, guys, got that rolled over really nice. Now the other fender doesn't match this one. It's a little sharper, so I think I'll want to roll that one over a little bit more. I ran over everything with 220, smoothed it out real nice, tried to get as many sand scratches out as I could, and it's feeling really good. Not perfect by any means, but a lot smoother than it was, and I think it'll look really good when the hood's up. But yeah, pretty happy about this. Let's go ahead and get these both these fenders back on the car, bolted on tight, and we can block those areas out over where it meets the door. All right, we have both fenders back on. They're on here nice and tight, so they're not going to move around. I've got the shims in just like I had when I was adjusting the door and messing around with it, so they should be pretty close to right where they were. So I got some 80 grit on the long block here, so let's just sand all the way down through here and see what happens. Now remember, this does roll in a little bit right here, so we're not trying to make this, we're trying to make this a nice smooth transition, but we're not trying to flatten this, so this is perfect. All right off the bat, we can see this is coming in really nice. This is starting to creep over, so that's looking really good. So let me switch sides here and we'll see what we can do down here. Well, that's coming together really nice, really quick. All right, I'm going to keep sanding on it, and we'll see where we end up. All right, that came together really nice. It's just starting to sand right in there. We have a little bit of steel showing right here, but this came out really nice. And it feels a lot better already. So I think we're looking good as far as this fender goes. Let's go check the other one out. It's got a little bit more troubles than this one does. Okay, I already started some sanding on this side a little earlier, and we've got a little bit of steel showing right here, but we can see it's just starting to touch. So that's good. Probably a coat of epoxy will help bring that flush right across there. We've got some steel showing right there, like a little tiny dime-sized area. The other fender had the exact same thing. So that's kind of interesting. I am worried about, it's looking pretty good. I think we can sand this together. Right here with this body filler, this kind of rolls off right here. Now my seam from my patch panel was right through here, through the inner part, over and then down right here. So that's where my seam is, right here. So I could have maybe didn't get that shaped right, I'm not quite sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and sand and see what happens. right, so we have a lot of steel showing through, so I'm going to stop. What I'll end up doing is just scuffing all this, so when we put more epoxy on it, I'm pretty confident that that will take that a little bit out. I'm not going to put body filler there. So let me sand down here and see what happens. Okay, well, it's still got a little bit of a ledge here, so this dips in right here. I can almost feel it, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to fix that. I'm going to try, I'm going to put a dolly right here, and I'm going to try to smack that with a hammer and see if we can't bring that out. Okay, so it curves down through here, and then it flattens out in this area, and then goes back to a curve. I can almost feel it. I'm surprised I didn't feel it before. So I put a piece of blue tape back here because I don't want to damage the inside here, but I kind of want to push this little area out. So what I'm going to use is the rubber mallet, and I've got a piece of oak. It's got a piece of leather glued to it. Dave gave me this or let me use it, and I'm going to back that with another dolly, and we're just going to see what we can do here. Yikes. It is feeling better. Now I'm a little gun shy here. It feels like it came out. That didn't sound good. All right, let's try sanding it and see what happens here. Okay, we got some steel showing through, so I may have gone a little too far. There could be a lip right there. It came out, and it's touching when we sand it. Get my head in the way there, but that is steel showing. So we are coming out, so I think we may have gotten it right there. This body filler, there's probably a low spot right here, and there's the edge of that body filler. So I'm going to sand this a little bit more. We're going to mix up some body filler and hit this area right here for sure, and then we're going to have to wait till we get the door back on here. But that doesn't look too bad. Now you see how I did that. I didn't panic about anything. And I put the tape on there because I don't want that rubber mallet to contaminate the epoxy. But just doing that and backing it up here and giving it a couple of good shots, it pushed it out just enough. So I think we might be all right. It actually feels pretty good. So let me do some more sanding. I'll bring you back. Okay, I did some more hammering here up in this area, and it's starting to come together. But we have this high spot right here. So I'm just going to take the little PDR plastic tool here. Very gently tap that down. Then I'll sand some more and see if I'm making any headway, and then I'm going to do some more hammering. So I finally got smart. I put the tape on the mallet instead of on the fender, so I can just get down here and hit it without worrying about it. And I'm just going to keep doing that. It's starting to feel better. So I'm going to sand it some more, see where it's at, and then just kind of keep this up. All right, guys, still haven't mixed up any body filler. I didn't know what was going to happen up here, but you can tell we're doing a lot better. Now, this sheet metal area did get larger. There's still epoxy down inside some of those deeper scratches, but I don't know if you guys can tell, but see, now it's sanding all the way to this edge out here, and there's a slight dip inside there. I can't do anything about that. I can't reach in there and spoon that out. Even if I had the fender off, I couldn't really reach it. And I'm not too worried about it. I think a couple of coats of epoxy will take care of this area. Obviously, we'll scuff it before we put another couple of coats on, but it's looking good since we're reaching out here and we're sanding across here. So that means it's bridging across and it's matching this shape over here. So I think we're looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Now, wailing away with the rubber mallet like I was just doing, I've been doing it for, I don't know, 15 minutes now, maybe 20 minutes. It's not for the faint of heart, but the rubber mallet doesn't put dents. It moves a mass of material at a time. So right where you're hitting, it's trying to push a large area. So what I was trying to do is bump this out, and it looks like I was successful. All right, I'm going to mix up some body filler, get this filled down here. Since we did sand through the steel down here, I know I can just fill that right there. I'm tempted to scuff this and go ahead and fill this whole band right here. Maybe I'll do that. All right, I'll bring you right back. All right, that filler's set up real nice, so let's get some sanding done. Notice where it started hitting right away, but we could be a little low there. But I'm going to keep sanding this, and we'll see how we turn out. Whew. All right. Let's see where it filled in right there. We got a little bit of the steel showing. We need to cut this corner back because I got body filler around the corner, but it's feeling really good. So let me dress this corner up real quick and we'll take a close-up look at it. Okay, a little 220. Okay, there's a lot going on here, but it's looking really good. So you can tell that the edge came out. So we're just filling a little low spot here, but we have just a little bit of body filler right here. Now remember, this is the fender that had all that slide hammer work, and we put a patch panel down on the bottom. I was considering cutting the whole thing out. I never did. And it looks a little uneven, but it feels really good. So once we get some more epoxy on there, it'll tie it all together. So on the edge, we're not building up. Okay, we just have a little filler right there, but that edge sanded right through. So it's looking really good. So I'm pretty happy with this side. The other side obviously came together a lot better, but you know, you take what you can get. But I'm really happy with the way these fenders are turning out. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up this video and getting all the body work done on the fender so that body filler can shrink and outgas and do everything it wants to do while we're waiting for a really nice day to spray some more epoxy. So we got the insides sweetened up way better than I had planned. You know, I keep going overboard on everything, but I think they're gonna look really sweet when the hood's up. But and the rest of it, I was really happy to get those lips or the edges right where they meet the door sweetened up really nice. So I think it's gonna come out really good. I'm really anxious to get some more epoxy on here and see how we did. Now, we didn't get everything out. This is a process, right? So we banged all the dents out, patch panels, did the best we could on sheet metal work. Then we got it in epoxy. Then we're doing the best we can with some preliminary filling with some body filler. Then we're going to get some more epoxy on, block it out again, and see, and just kind of inch our way to the finish line. So I'm really happy with the progress we're making so far. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.